When we interview interns and we ask them what they watch, like what shows are they watching?
Ooh, interesting.
YouTube. Like that's what they're watching. I'm like, have you heard of our shows? Like, why are you here?
Welcome back to Barely Scraping By. Today's guest, I had not the immediate Today's guest,
I love that intro.
No, but we can just end it at that. We can leave it at that. Today's guest, what was I saying? Shit. Okay. So when I worked in Unscripted, I did my networking, of course, and I knew I didn't want to be in Unscripted forever, but I did find it important to meet people in that world and still like find out what was going on and meet people in different areas at Unscripted and blah, 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 blah. So then that made me stumble upon Marko right here. And I reached out because I don't remember, because we were scheduling something again and again and again for so long together. And I was like, I need to know you. I need to know what you're about. Let's get together. And we met. Where did we go for drinks that one time? I'm forgetting. What is it called?
Storybook Hotel.
Period. And so we met for drinks. And of course, we like talked about the industry for maybe 5 minutes. And like, I got the scoop and it was a moment. And then we started talking about love and life and friendships and lovers. We got close really quick. We were having a full moment. It did not feel like I was there to network. It feels like I was there with my buddy and my friend. And we just got into like everything. Like I remember ordering another round and like we yapped. And I remember I fully remember driving away and being like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like that was amazing. That was beautiful. That was amazing. And so when I was racking my brain on this season on who I wanted on, I thought it was important to have you on because it's like you have such an interesting perspective because you were in the industry pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID strikes, like what you wanted to do, deciding if you want to stay in Unscripted, dealing with the punches, and you just kind of have this comprehensive overview of what's been going on for the past couple of years. And I found that interesting and like a good perspective to bring to this podcast and tell the people what's been going on in your life. So I'm so happy and excited and giggling on the inside and on the outside to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Marko Antonio is here to stay and to yap.
Hi.
But can you give a background of what you've been doing, what you're a part of right now, and kind of like what you're doing in the industry that's keeping you going?
I've been at a major network for the past 10 years now. It's funny because, and then I've worked at other companies before that, including other major networks as well. But it's funny because coming into this one, I started Unscripted, and it was a company that was new to it, and I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and I didn't vibe with the person I was working with, and so I didn't know if it was the right path for me, so I ended up not staying there. But they had some partners who were doing Unscripted, who I did get along with and loved, and they were like, come work with us, you'll learn about producing, and then we'll figure out how to get you to your next thing kind of thing. It was that kind of relationship where I went in for an interview, and we were just like chatting and like fell in love kind of thing, and then they canceled all their other interviews and hired me. So for like 2 years, I gave them my all and learned about producing Unscripted, et cetera. And then I started to focus on what I wanted to do, which was scripted or film or et cetera, or just like learning more about what the industry had to offer. And I started hustling, like meeting everybody, interviewing for everything, yada, yada, yada. And I would get to like top 2 of everything I was interviewing for. And every single time they'd be like, we love you, but this other person has agency or scripted experience like this. And it was just almost like there was this branding on unscripted people. Like I get that it's a different world. I get that we do things differently, but I didn't know what I was doing when I got there. I could just as easily learn what to do in this other side of things. Anyways, it got to a point where I was like, all right, well, maybe I'm not going to find it on the network side of things. Maybe I have to go freelance and get to know people there. So 2020 was my year to go in the field, learn about all that, and then COVID hit.
Damn.
The COVID hit, and we were working from home and figuring out how to move forward with that, and somehow we were still making TV and still filming shows and learning all new ways of doing it, and it was so fascinating and scary and wild and all the things at the same time. And now we're back in the office, and I'm back where I was in 2020 in a way of figuring out where to go next, while still like, I don't know, I'm not a half-ass kind of guy. Like even if I'm not super passionate about something, I want to give it my all. I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to take care of everybody. So I'm still doing what I can in the role that I am in now to make that happen, but I'm still looking forward and figuring that out. But it's not even just scripted anymore. Now I'm like, I love live events. I love this. I don't want to do the same thing every day. And I'm trying to figure out how one does that, because in my mind, I was pursuing it for so long of like, get good at one thing and then you can build a reputation and do whatever you want. And now I'm like, I don't want to wait. I just want to do all the things. And I want to find someone who can show me how to do that. And I'm going to go do it.
But how did you let go of that? Like, how did you get out of that? Like, I need to be doing this by then and that by this. And if I don't do that, you know, the spiral that I can go on and on. Like, how did you release that from yourself and like just allow yourself to just exist and be from like the day to day?
Well, just for context, like, so I was like, I want to be in LA by the time I'm this age. And I got there 2 years before that. And then I was like, I want to work in entertainment by the time I'm this age. And again, it was 2 years before that. So I was like, okay, this 5-year thing is working for me. I think when we hit lockdown and like the bubble burst and just sort of taking that time to sit back and reassess what you want to do moving forward was when I realized I had been saying no to things because they weren't in line with those 5-year goals. And so because of that, I was like, well, then like, let's shake this up because the 5-year goals did work for me. But at the same time, it wasn't helping me get towards the final, like the big boss of getting into what I wanted to do. So maybe we need to reassess and do something different. So that's kind of when it was. It was like having that time to sort of stop and reassess and be like, do I even want to work in entertainment anymore? Because that happened for sure.
Oh my God, I need advice on that right now because I just had a conversation the other day.
Well, then like I was there every day for like months and maybe even the better part of a couple of years. And like, but every time I thought about what else I would do, I just come back to storytelling or entertainment in some way, shape or form, live events, whatever it is. Like, I love this world. It's where I like my brain thrives for sure. I don't know. There's just so much. There's so many nuances to it, and like there is variety in it, depending on where you work. Obviously, similar to what I was saying with the hospitality industry. So yeah, I think it's important, like, that you find where you fit here, where you thrive here, where you want here. And if you're not finding a place, then that's a good time to maybe move on and reassess something else. But, like, I don't think I've explored enough to decide that yet. You know what I mean? Like, I've only been in certain pockets of this industry and met certain people. Like, who knows what's out there? So if you're done with it, if you feel burnt out and you just can't do another day of it, I get it. Go figure out what's best for you. But for me, the issue has always been like, I didn't come to the LA or the entertainment industry to settle. And if I did, like, I'll go work in a doctor's office. And not to diminish that, I just mean that's completely unrelated to my passion. So I might as well go work anywhere. You know what I mean? If I'm going to be working in a pocket of the industry that I'm less passionate about. I think that's the positive side of the industry too, is like, not everything's toxic. Not everyone's toxic. And you get a ton of stories about that, especially I'm sure on your side of things, where you just experience so many shitty people. And I think those are the moments too that I was ready to quit, was when I encountered some of the worst people in this industry, where I was just like, I have too much empathy for this. Like, do I need to sacrifice my empathy to thrive in this industry? And I think at one point I convinced myself I did, but I'm finding powerhouses in this industry who still have empathy. And they have their days, of course, where they feel a little misaligned with that. But there's still beautiful people in here who do care about people, and it's not just about the bottom dollar, etc.
Well, then how do you still care? Because that's what like, how do you still keep your empathy while being that powerhouse?
I remind myself that being myself has gotten me to where I am today. I think in that context as well, of like, especially working at a major network and like dealing with really high up executive people who know who I am now, I've always just approached them in ways of like, just like being a person, you know what I mean? And like coming with ideas and not acting like you're high and mighty or the king and blah, blah, blah. And I found that those higher ups, most of them, because some people have egos and they want you to kiss their ass, most of them like when you just treat them like people and don't spin things and don't kiss their ass and etc. And now it's garnered respect for me in spaces where I walk in and like heads of state see me, greet me, make time to make sure that they come and see me, because I'm not just, even though I'm lower on the pole in regards to my position, like I've made an impression on them because I'm myself. So I think that's what reminds me, is like, if I can maintain that, other people out here are maintaining that as well. And I can spread that message as well when it comes to, as I grow in this industry, I can spread that and say, hey, these are the kind of people I want to work with. And so when I bring those people together and we start working with more people, I want to make sure that message is intact of like, hey, we don't treat people like shit in my company or whatever, in my projects. We treat everybody equal. We treat people with respect. There's no such thing as a bad idea. Like, and I've heard of plenty of people, like celebrities even, who operate that way. So maybe it's BS, maybe it's not, but I don't know. You hear good stories.
Oh my God. And I love to hear that. And that's like, you're speaking to my soul, because it's like, I've just been having a lot of thought processes being in, like, now that I'm in the feature space and I'm working in an old school, like, department, and, you know, features and scripts are just like, have been here since the beginning of the days of entertainment. So now I'm seeing a different way that we operate, and being in the unscripted space and coming from that energy is so much different now that I'm on the other side. And I was hoping and praying this is where I've always wanted to be, and, you know, touching the scripts and being a part of this is like, I need to get there. I need to get there. I need to get there. And I'm there, and I'm like, they're just being like, do the work. Like, I feel very much like, do the work. And I got off the phone with my sister, and she goes, Claire, I really feel like you're working right now. And she goes, work. She goes, I know that the saying of like, you know, never work a day in your life when you're doing what you love. And she goes, I feel like you're working right now.
I want that so bad.
I'm really struggling with like all the things you just said, and I'm trying to figure that out within myself and like how to get myself to the next moment and questioning everything. So
can I ask a question?
No, of course.
Well, what part is freaking you out most in that space?
I think because I wanted it so badly. And it's interesting when it's very rare that the guest flips it on me. I'm like, okay, no, of course. It's a mutual conversation.
I told you I might.
Oh, no, I love that. I think and this is why I love you. I think what's freaking me out is because I wanted it so badly. And I've been putting so much energy in that world and in that department and features and movies and being a producer and making my parents proud and doing the whole speech and all that shit. You know, like I think I put so much energy in it. And now that I'm in it, I have so much pressure, self-induced pressure. And also like the external pressure of not from my boss or anything. My boss is lovely, love him, but I'm saying just like that pressure to be like, we are in, you know, movies, we are in the feature space, we are in scripted, you know, we, you know, love the accolades and the pats on the back and all that shit. So I feel like I feel the pressure from myself because I'm very hard on myself. I feel like, as not to do this generalized, like as everyone is in this industry, but very hard on myself. And I'm also feeling the external pressure, the internal pressure. And that's when you said about taking a breath and it'll be okay. I cannot right now. And I don't know how. And even when I'm talking right now, you know, my speech is getting faster and I'm getting more stressed because I'm taking on that stress that I feel every day, and I do not know how to handle it right now.
I get you. I think it's important, and this is going to sound reckless, I'm sure, but like I ask myself, I guess I tell myself or I remind myself in those moments when I get like that as well, or like in the eras where I have been, I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, I'm going to lose my job. Yes, that's terrible, especially in this economy, especially with where we are in the world, blah, 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 blah. But do I want to lose my job or do I want to lose my sanity? You know what I mean? Like, what's more important right now, my mental health or blah, 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 blah. And I think it's just about compartmentalizing that. That requires a little bit more of thinking outside the box, which creatively I can do, but administratively and like when it comes to like maintaining my life, I don't know how to do that as well. And so that's what I'm navigating now, is thinking outside the box in terms of I hate the word career, but we'll use that now just for all intents and purposes. Maintaining my career, I have to think outside the box of what I want to do next, and so I'm trying to figure that out.
I just am enjoying myself. But before we get too caught up in like what you're doing now, I want to do a little segment that we're doing, and then we back on the flow. It's called the Baddie Boots.
Oh, I love this.
It's called the Baddie Boot, and don't think I forgot.
Do I have to drink something out of that? Because I'm not.
I would absolutely not do that to you. I'm not that type of person. Okay, cool. I have the Baddie Boot, and in this little Baddie Boot, there's little Baddie questions, and you're gonna reach your hands in here and pick a little question. Great. I'm gonna allow you to do that, and grab a little moment, read it out loud,
you know I went digging.
Read it out loud and tell the audience. I am obsessed with your laugh. It makes me want to laugh, and I hate that I'm not laughing with you.
Oh God,
I want to be laughing with you.
Topical for me right now.
Okay, say it out loud.
Record a voice memo to your future self apologizing for something you're currently doing wrong.
Shit. Or you can just say it out loud. You don't have to record it.
Record a voice memo to your future self apologizing for something you're currently doing wrong. It's okay. You're doing your best. Like every day, one day at a time, you're figuring out what's best for you, and you don't have to be in a hurry to get to what's best for you. And in the moment you start rushing that is where you end up in something that you don't even want to be in anyway. So just take your time. I'm sorry that you feel like you're not doing enough to be where you need to be right now, but like you've been through a lot. So take it easy and everything's going to be okay, regardless of what happens.
I need to listen to that. I needed to hear that. I needed to listen to that. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm in this like rush, you know, like this rush to get to the next thing and like this rush to keep going. But it's like, I want to know more about what you're doing in the day to day to kind of breathe some life into like what you're a part of and the systems you're a part of. You don't have to like touch base on anything, but like just like kind of just know what you're doing and what you're like.
Like for my job?
Yeah, your day-to-day,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Okay. So I'm a production.
Like, where's she going with
I don't know.
this?
I was like, do you mean like pursuing my dreams or like
do
in
you
my
mean,
current
like,
role?
your personal day-to-day? Like,
I was like, because I'm not doing jack shit when it comes to pursuing my personal dreams, at least not enough. My day-to-day, I'm a production coordinator. I like to think of it as making sure trains don't crash. I'm sort of a hub between the companies who make our shows and the rest of my network. So making sure people have the approvals they need when they need it, making sure the right eyes are on the right content, and just it's like, I feel like almost like that old school telephone operator where you're connecting the lines and doing all that. Like that's what it feels like. But then administratively too, like I've been there the longest in terms of other people in my role. So I try to keep us all unified by I love processes. I love making up processes. I love questioning the status quo and being like, how can we make this better? So I'm always making up systems and whatnot to just make us all unified so that like, for instance, just like kicking off a show, like everybody was doing it differently. How the company finds out that a new show is coming out or a new season is coming out, like everyone was doing it differently. So I just created a template for us all to use and like, let's just do the same. Like even with just like what goes in the email, how do you approach the company about setting it, like all that little stuff. I love just scripting it out and making it like I'm formulaic. I like making processes. I think that's too, like, it's all about like figuring out how you add value and like making yourself irreplaceable. And I think that's part of my process as well, is like when there's nothing to do or like nothing different than what your normal job is, find something different to do. Find something that makes you special compared to everybody else. Taking initiative basically and like creating those systems that nobody else would have ever thought to create, because nobody asked me to make that. I was like, I need to make this happen so that it feels cohesive. So yeah.
And because you've been at the company for some time, like how have you seen the evolution like right now in the unscripted space? Like we're seeing so much change and like everyone's fast on their feet. Everyone's looking for the next opportunity because we have to stay so on top of it, especially with the current climate. Yeah. How have you seen the evolution of, this massive network, and how are you keeping up with it and staying within their flow and how they're shifting to stay in front of, all these changes?
Well, it's wild. When I started, like I felt like I was coming in at the tail end of the golden age of television, as they called it, in terms of content. Like we had so many different kinds of shows. We had so many hours to fill on our programming. Like we were I came in too when like they were experimenting with different kinds of content, trying to branch out from what they're normally making, and figuring out what they could get away with and what they couldn't. And so it just felt like I guess more fun time of just like exploring that. And also that it was really important to bring in new audiences, younger audiences. And I also came in at the time like where they were trying to figure out how to make more money off of delayed viewings, et cetera, and cut to today. And it's like the hours that we were trying to fill has been cut. I don't even know how much. There's way less. Like there's way less being greenlighted. There's just way less to work with. So now it's a matter of focusing on what's been working and making it better. And just it feels like it's interesting because it feels like this should be a prime time to experiment more with concepts and formats and et cetera. And I think people are. I'm not to say people aren't, but like I still feel like we're getting a bunch of the same stuff in terms of hits on television right now when you think of the dating shows and the this and the that and the others. So it's just like it's so oversaturated right now too. But there's no space to put everything, or there is, but like it's on apps that you might not know about or don't want to work with or et cetera. So it's in that time it's completely shifted and changed. And now it's like, now I feel like there's a sense of we don't know where this is going to be in 5 years even anymore. And like people didn't know that 10 years ago too, I guess, but like there was still like a vision and like a hope and blah, 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 blah. And now I don't think people even have a clue.
Interesting. That cognitive dissonance of like, okay, we kind of know the house is burning, but we're still sitting at the dinner table and eating, like, and don't look up when like the world was falling apart. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they were sitting there being like, okay, just eat your dinner while we're going to die. Like, I'm not saying the industry's dying. I'm just saying it's redirecting. Yeah. And so it's like, how are you living with that? And I'm saying there is hope,
It pisses me off.
The house is burning and there will be a new home and we will rebuild, whatever.
It pisses me off because I feel like I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and criticize and be like, how have we not figured out a way to reshape this industry to monetize it better, blah, blah, blah. But I also don't have billions of dollars at my disposal to do that, you know?
You don't?
No.
What?
And it goes back to what you were saying about like the old world, old school things that you're dealing with now. And I think that's the biggest issue is there's so many old school people still in play who are trying to create a whole new world, but have like who are way too pragmatic and don't have the foresight to do something revolutionary outside the box, because this isn't so much anymore, but like when I first started in this industry, I heard a ton of the higher ups being like, this worked 5 years ago, so we're going to do it today. This worked X years ago, so we're going to, and I'm just like, that's not how we're going to move the needle forward, just focusing on how we've always done it, you know? So I think, and that's the other, that kind of goes back to what you were saying too, like, how can I thrive in this environment if it's so old school? We kind of got to wait till the old school gets out of the way so the rest of our idealist people can come in and do something different with it. Give access to voices, the voiceless, give access to new voices. Like, just there's so much that we could be doing and nobody wants to listen, because at the end of the day, it's the bottom dollar that matters most.
Love that. So when you're kind of in this mindset and trying to figure out how the network is changing and evolving, and you are in charge of the interns when they come in, how do you keep them kind of like not sheltered, but like let them see the world and, being a good leader and showing them the ways while also trying to like keep your head on straight, but like show them like, okay, this is the reality of things, but I don't want to burst your bubble. Like, how does that work? Because I remember you said you're in charge of the interns. I was like, fascinating.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to me too. Because interns, what a great example of how this industry has changed. When we interview interns and we ask them what they watch, like what shows are they watching?
Ooh, interesting.
YouTube.
Oh.
Like, that's what they're watching. They're like, I'm like, have you heard of our shows? Like, why are you here? Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, I want to learn about TV. I'm like, but all you watch is YouTube and like YouTube influencers and blah, blah, blah. It's so interesting to me. Like, I do my best not to completely disenchant them with the industry, I guess. Because again, everyone's journey is going to be different. What you encounter, who you encounter, etc. It's what you make of it 100%. Like, yes, you might be put into circumstances that are against your control where it feels like shit for sure. But it doesn't have to be that way for the rest of time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just try to focus on what they're excited about and champion that. I try to focus on what they see as the future and champion that. And I try to use them for that too, in the sense of like, what are your ideas? How can we make this better? How can we do this? What do you think's interesting, Because we have to be listening to the younger people, especially if we want to be like, our audiences are aging out, you know what I mean? People are getting older. People are not watching as much TV. We need new audiences. So if you need new audiences, ask the younger people.
And how do you see how do you see the future? Like, how do you see this evolving? I know this is like hard to say, but it's like, please. I know, but I'm
how do you see the future?
How do you see my future?
Literally.
But how do you see this going? Like, what is something that you're thinking? Like, how are you thinking ahead? And like, where do you see this going?
Well, it's like, look, we're always going to want content, Like, that's what's keeping the rest of us getting through this planet is content, storytelling, blah, blah, blah. It's just a matter of how are we going to get it out to the people and how are we going to keep making money off of it? And I think that's evolving in many ways. You can see it, how people are incorporating product placement in different ways with their content, especially. And I think it's going to take something revolutionary, just like TiVo. You know what I mean? Which is so funny to me because I feel like this industry cannibalized itself with TiVo because we made money off of live viewing. And then we were like, hey, you can watch our shows later, but we don't make as much money off of that. And so that kind of was the beginning of the end, That's like what led to streaming. That's what led to everything. And I think it's going to take something like that, but in the other direction, to revolutionize this in a way that we can make money off of it and make great stories. Because the biggest problem is there's so many great stories out there that just aren't getting seen because of what the nature of the platforms they're on or blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, oh, we're going to cancel this after one season because it's not getting what we need it to, even though it's great storytelling, acting, all this stuff. And it's just like, we somehow need to create a world where like those things can exist, the things that aren't making money can exist, while the things that are making money, like they can coexist. And I think the film industry does that in a really big way, where it's like we're fucking shooting Marvel down the chute every other day to make money. But then we also have our indie projects that like we go to theaters and they don't make that much money, but our Marvel is helping us pay to make those indie projects. You know what I mean? I think TV's got to figure that out in some way. Is like use the big content to fuel the other content, because we need that diversity. It can't just all be like high concept bullshit.
Oh, 100%. You're reminding me, like, it's like reminding me, you know, like this podcast really helps me sometimes push myself forward through this industry, because I get caught in these spirals and these negative mindsets, and I forget why I'm doing it, and I forget why I'm in it sometimes, and I get lost in all of it. And it's like, oh, you know, like we can have the Marvel movies, but then we can have the beautiful indie films that make me feel like alive, and they make me feel fueled. And it's like, God, when I watch a good film or I'm absorbing something that makes me feel alive, and I truly believe I feel like I'm walking on sunshine when I see something that makes me feel something. And that's the whole reason we're doing it, is just to create emotion in other people off stories.
It's funny because while you were talking about what you just were talking about, I realized you answered that question that you asked me earlier of why I'm still here, because it's the same for me. I think about all the stories that have changed my life, have changed. It's funny. It has, like, you think about things that you, like as a kid, especially as a gay kid, especially like the things I saw on TV that normalized that for me. You know what I mean? So that's like to sort of give that access to people, to give that feeling to people that you were talking about. That's why it's important to me, because I felt that, and storytelling has made me feel safer in this world. So if that's the case, then I can spread that to other people. Like, I'd love that. And that's where I think I'm still in this too, because we have just so much access to sharing those stories and affecting people's lives. I don't know. I interviewed with someone one day, and they were like, you know, we're not going to change the world with storytelling or TV or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I disagree. I have found so many people in this world, especially bigoted people, who once they were presented a different perspective, a different person, a different thing that they thought they had all these fears about until they got to encounter them and actually interact with them, that they realized that they were backwards on it. You know what I mean? And so I think that's important, is there's so many people who don't have access to a different way of thinking and moving through the world, and we can do that. And I think that's a big reason why I'm still here.
Oh, and that's a reason I'm still here. You know what I mean? That's the reason I stop and I question and I'm still doing it, because it's like, exactly. And I, you know, growing up, I fought my queer identity too. I was like, you know, and I feel like through these films and through these moments, I'm like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know why I feel like I'm fighting something in me. And it's like, yeah, films made me feel like a person. Like, they made me feel like a complete person. Because sometimes I felt like there was like these little holes in me and I didn't know why. And then I'd watch a movie and then I felt like come back to. Yeah. And I feel like I need to come back to. And it's like I would lose myself in it. And it's like, but a movie would make me feel centered, and would make me feel seen, and would make me feel heard. And I was like, that is me. You know what I mean? And that is how I feel, and that is how I speak, and that's how I exist. And it's like, I see myself. Yeah. And you need that.
Yeah.
Let's together. Let's together. But the last guest asked you a question, and I want to ask you this question. The way it works, they pass off a question, you pass off the question to the next person. I love that. So everyone's connected, even if you guys didn't meet or cross paths. And the question was, who was your champion that you don't usually mention? Someone who's championed you in the industry, that, you know, if you were to give the big speech of, I think my mom and dad, or I think this big boss, who's someone that's pushed you forward or been in your corner or pushed your resume, or like someone that, you know, has been a part of it, but you don't really get the opportunity to talk about often.
I'm gonna have the opportunity to talk about them way more because they're leaving me. But one of my bosses, who is that person, like, since I've been in this company, especially, she's been a mentor. She's been like a mother in some ways. She's my first year with her. I went to New York to just to visit for the first time ever. She gave me a card with $50 in it that said, "Have a great time."
That's so kind.
Yeah. And she just, as I've been there through all my like freakouts, and she taught me how to have a thicker skin without beating it into me, you know what I mean? Because I remember this one day, like, I was given this impossible task, and I felt like I'm being given a 6-figure task as a 5-figure employee, and I was like freaking out. And she's like, I'm like, when does the thicker skin come? And she's like, this right now, like these moments, these times where you feel like you can't do it, and this, that, or the other, that's when it breaks into you and you become new. And she's just always been that for me, championing me, keeping me accountable, and like she's always managed to navigate the relationship between me being her employee and me being her friend, et cetera, in an appropriate way and in a way that kept me grounded and respectful and knowing my place, et cetera. Like, we've just been partners for 10 years, and she's going off to do other things and see other things and try other projects and just get out of the world that we're in right now. And I'm really excited for her, and I'm going to miss her, and I'm going to be saying her name way more than I used to for the past 10 years. And it's not that I wasn't giving her credit. There was no one was asking who's my champion, and she's been my champion.
It's very touching. That's good to hear that there's people like that. We hear you, we see you, and people like that are not rare, but are just, when they are given the opportunity to be talked about and given the opportunity to be like praised, they deserve it, because people like that make the next generation go up. Even though we are, gotta wait out the oldies before we come in. It's like people like that, like, really make our journey so much more positive and make our lives so much more positive, because you don't dread work and you don't dread those moments. You're excited to like be taught by them and mentored by them.
And she's a higher up with empathy. So
you, my queen, whoever you are, I adore you from afar. And what is a question you want to leave to the next guest?
What do you want people in this industry to remember about you and your legacy?
I love that question. I love that question. Thank you for being a part of Barely Scraping By and adding your story and being a part of this journey with me.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you. Killed that shit.